basically the future kind of measures, activities that we have to initiate in order to revive the economy. So I would also try to highlight some of the areas that require more research. For example, I could see many youngsters here, especially assistant professors, research scholars. Uh, so you all can think about these new avenues for research, because we need to initiate more research. I'm going to talk about lack of information also, how lack of information affects our decisions, not only individuals' decisions, but also the decisions of the governments, basically. So the government right now needs a lot of inputs from good quality researchers, not the researchers, those who are doing research on the basis of WhatsApp messages or messages coming from social media, etc. Of course, some of them are reliable, but most of them are not reliable. But I'm talking about taking up some serious research, scientific research, using all our scientific methods and tools to generate information, and this information will have to be useful for the governments as well as for the individuals to take rational decisions in carrying out uh, their activities in the post COVID-19 era. So, um, so what I'm going to do is to uh, uh, could you see the could you see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay. So basically, as I said, I'm going to talk about how are we going to revive our Indian economy in the post-COVID-19 era. Of course, all of you may know or will know that now the coronavirus, which is popularly known as, scientifically known as COVID-19, has devastated almost all the economies, irrespective of whether these economies are capitalist economies or socialist economies. Almost all economies have been devastated by this COVID-19. If you go back to economic theory, classical school of economics, what we find is that it is basically the ideas of Adam Smith, especially the idea pertaining to invisible hand. So Adam Smith prescribed market-oriented activities. So he called market as invisible hand because you can't see the market. Market operates in a very kind of invisible manner. So you have the invisible hand operating in the economies, and according to Adam Smith, it is basically the invisible hand which is capable of expanding the wealth of the nations. Basically, how do you expand the gross domestic product of a particular country? It is by allowing the market forces to play a major role in coordinating exchanges among individuals, and as a result, individuals exchange goods and services, and that would lead to improve the economic condition of the countries by way of expanding the wealth of nations, and ultimately improving the welfare of all the individuals, not only involved in the market exchange, but also those who are not effectively involved in the market exchange, actually, right? So that is how many of the countries followed Adam Smith's idea, and then they started liberalizing their economies by allowing more market forces and less governments. And I know later on also, Adam Smith's ideas were very much kind of propagated by many other economists. For example, Von Hayek, who got Nobel Prize in the year 1974, along with Gunnar Myrdal, has indeed talked about why we should rely more on market forces and less on government. Later on, James Buchanan, for example, has also talked about how governments may fail and markets may succeed in terms of improving the welfare of the individuals. James Buchanan got Nobel Prize in the year 1986 for his contribution towards public choice theory. Okay, so there are a whole bunch of economists who always argue that it is basically the invisible hand which is capable of expanding the wealth of nations. And as a result, many countries followed these suggestions. For example, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, these kinds of leaders, they followed the ideas of Von Hayek and then liberalized their economies. In India also in 1991 onwards, 1991 onwards, we have ventured into liberalizing the Indian economy, and therefore we were able to uplift a lot of people above poverty line, expand our wealth of nation, increase our GDP, reduce unemployment problems. We achieved many things, but at the same time, there were also problems like environmental problems, inequality, and so on and so forth. But despite all these problems, many countries found the market forces to be better institutions to improve the welfare of the people. But while everything was going on like this, all of a sudden during last January or February, we had this another invisible hand coming in the form of coronavirus. And if you look at the picture of the coronavirus, you will find many hands. Okay, so these hands will stick to the human body, enter the lung system, and then try to attack the health system of the person infected with COVID-19. Okay, so what happened is that
excuse me,
invisible.
Sir,
Yes.
excuse me.
Yes.
For the kind attention of all the participants, please don't share your, you don't put PPT more,
Yeah.
so that we could not
Yes,
see
yeah.
his presenting. And also, kindly pin the PPT from your side. Venkatachalam sir's PPT, kindly pin from your side. Otherwise, you can't, it won't be visible. Thank you.
Could you see my PPT right now?
No, sir, no.
Oh, I'm sorry. And something
Kindly-
is going on.
Kindly pin PPT from your side.
Okay.
Sir's
Okay.
PPT.
Just a minute. Could you see this now?
No, sir.
Oh,
Yes, yes. Now
Okay.
it's coming.
yeah. Okay. So this invisible kind of microorganism has completely devastated the economies that were following not only the market-oriented policies, but also the socialist kind of economies are also affected adversely by the COVID-19. Okay, almost all economies have come to a standstill, and as a result, it has brought a lot of kind of welfare loss to almost all people. Okay, so now the law has been used in many countries. This law is also being gradually relaxed by these countries. In India, a law has been imposed on March 24th, I think, if I remember correctly. And then we have been this for the past 50 days or so. We don't know if the lockdown is to be extended, especially in the red zones in the coming years, but that is the kind of indication that is coming different sources. So the point here is that the lockdown is going to go for a few more months also, especially in the red zones. But when the lockdown is relaxed, we are going to have a different kind of economy. We are going to have a different kind of behavior of the people who are going to shape this economy, actually, right? So the point here is that we had an economy before COVID-19, that is before February or January, and we are not going to have the same kind of economy after COVID-19. So we are going to have a completely different kind of economy. So the economy may be very healthy or unhealthy, or it may have some kind of a problem. It may have some kind of restructuring. We don't know how the economy is going to be, but still we hope for a kind of better economy, and therefore it is called a new normal economy. In the new normal economy, the behavior of the people is going to be something different. The functioning of the economy, the structure of the economy may be something different. The functioning of the economy may be something different. So, but we don't know what kind of the economy that we are going to have. So there is a kind of problem called the information problem. Basically, many Nobel laureates, for example, George Stigler, whom you can see on the top right, okay? So he was working at Chicago University, well known for his work on information, economics of information. Okay, got Nobel Prize in the year 1985. And according to economics of information area, our behavior, the human behavior depends largely on the decisions. Okay, so we have to decide and then behave, right? But decision as such depends on the information that is available, right? Whatever the kind of decision that you take, you need some information. Whether it is a very, very kind of important long-term decision, or it is a very non-important short-term decision, whatever the kind of decision that you want to take, you need information. So information plays a very crucial role. How people collect information, how people process that information, how people usually process that information optimally, because these individuals are rational individuals, and therefore they try to optimize everything, and therefore they try to optimize even in collecting, using the information for decision making. So this is the kind of idea coming from the work of right? So information plays a major role in decision making. As I said, not only individuals, but also the governments need good quality information for making decisions. Right now, our state government of Tamil Nadu has constituted an empowered committee headed by Dr. Rangarajan, former RBI governor. So this committee is looking at how we can revive Tamil Nadu economy during the post COVID-19 period. Okay, so they need all kinds of information regarding the economy, on the basis of which they will come out with some recommendations passed on to the government. Okay, so information plays a major role. But if you look at the work of another Nobel laureate, Robert Schiller, who got Nobel Prize in the year 2013, his argument is that, look, most of the time we are dependent on the narratives. Okay, what is the narrative? Narrative, in simple terms, is the kind of information that is being generated by public. It's available from neighbors, that is available from WhatsApp, that's available from media. Sometimes these narratives now go viral. Actually, some of the information that are described viral. Okay, you might have noticed that some message has become viral. Actually, that means that this message is being read by so many people and forwarded by so many people, right? So, do you think that an information that is viral is authentic information? Is it a valid information? We don't know. There is no guarantee that an information that goes viral may be authentic, may be valid. But the point here is that sometimes some of the people depend on this viral information for taking decisions. Okay, sometimes the entire political system as such is being changed because of the viral information. Many of the political strategists, they try to spread some kind of, they may try to spread some kind of wrong information to the general public, to the voters about some particular party, and then that may be, that kind of information may be used by the people for their voting decision, and therefore your political system may get changed, or you may continue with some political system also. So even not only the individual decision, but also the political decisions may also be determined by these narratives, information available from the public, information available from the media. Okay, so now the point here is that in an era where people depend largely on information from narratives, how do we expect them to behave in a desirable way? Let me give you some examples. For example, let us take COVID-19, right? Are you able to hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir. We are here.
Is it okay?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So now let us take COVID-19. Some people argue that COVID-19 has been developed in the labs in China. So China developed this COVID-19 in order to wage a bio war against other countries. Okay, so this is the theory. But there is a counter argument which claims that, look, this is not developed in any labs. It has originated naturally, but unfortunately in China it has originated, and therefore you people are blaming China, right? Okay. Now, let us look at another information. Many people argue that COVID-19 does not exist in India. It's only a story developed by the central government. Okay, in order to divert the attention of the people. There are people who are arguing like this. So this is going around. But the counter argument is that, look, COVID-19 is a reality. There are people in India who are getting affected by COVID-19, and therefore the government had to take certain stringent measures in terms of lockdown and other things in order to prevent large number of people getting affected by COVID-19. Okay, so you have two different types of information. One information suggests that there is no COVID-19, but another information suggests that there is COVID-19. Now the point is, there are people who will believe in the no COVID-19 theory. There are people who depend on yes COVID-19 theory actually, right? So if we have different types of people depending on different informations, taking decisions, right? I'm just giving examples, but if you look at many other examples, you will come to know that there are plenty of information available on a single issue. Now the question is, which information will have to be used for decision-making purpose? So right now we are living in that particular situation, and therefore all of us will have to be careful in selecting the information. Otherwise, our behavior may go wrong. When one single individual's behavior goes wrong, then it may affect all others. That is what the game theory says. So in a situation where there is no information, or where there is lack of information, or where there is a kind of partial information available, or where there is a kind of somewhat unreliable information or invalid information is available, how do we have to behave, right? So let us look at this matrix. For example, non-cooperative game theory has been developed by Professor Nash, who got Nobel Prize in the year 1994, along with Harsanyi and Selton, right, for their contribution towards game theory actually. Okay, now all of you could see this table, and on the extreme left, you find Nash, the revolutionist economist, mathematician, and who has been affected by this schizophrenia after his 21st birthday or something like that. So throughout his life, this disease has completely devastated his productive life actually. Otherwise, we could have got a lot of revolutionary ideas from this genius, but unfortunately, he has been suffering from this disease. But look at this matrix table. Let us say that on the left side, I'm just using my cursor to indicate it. On the left side, it is individual X. It may be you, right, or me, right? Any individual. Let us assume that it is you, right? And on the top of the table, you find other individuals. Okay. So because game theory is based on the very strong assumption that every individual interacts with other individuals. Okay, so there is a game going on, and therefore there is a bargaining, right? And there is a kind of outcome, right? So every one of us in a market economy will have to interact with others. Please keep this in mind. Okay, so there is a social interaction. Now we are talking about social distancing because of COVID-19, right? We have to be away from others, but still carrying out certain kinds of activities. Otherwise, our economies, our lives will not be smooth. So whereas, see, the point is in economics, game theory expects individuals to interact. Because right now, because of COVID-19, the individuals are not supposed to be physically interacting. We are supposed to be distancing ourselves from others, but that does not mean that we cannot interact with each other. For example, this webinar has made the interaction much easier. Otherwise, I will have to visit Saint Beckman's College, and in a seminar hall, all of you should be sitting and listening to me, and I'll be watching. So physically, each one of us will be watching each other in case we have been living in a normal condition. But now the webinar has made it possible. So interaction is taking place maybe with the social distancing, right? So we need to appreciate this. But now certain activities cannot be avoided, namely physical interaction or kind of close interaction cannot be avoided. And therefore, let us look at this matrices. The outcomes. Okay, so you have others in the society, and you are there, and both others and you will have to take two decisions. One is whether to follow the norms set by the government in the COVID-19 era. See, please remember, COVID-19 is going to stay with us. It is not going to go by July end. It is not going to go by August end. Many scientists have claimed that COVID-19 is going to be with us for many years in the future. And therefore, how are we supposed to behave? Because we don't know full information. Because COVID cannot be seen. COVID-19 cannot be seen. It is invisible. We don't know whether it is sticking on the tables, whether it is sticking on the chairs, whether it is there in the bathroom, or whether someone who comes to meet you carries this virus, or whether some vegetable carries this virus. We don't know. So there is huge asymmetric information, and therefore we have to be extremely careful. So we have to follow all these norms. Okay, what are these norms? Maintain social distancing. Wash your hands very often with the soap and water. Use hand sanitizers, and don't travel frequently. Don't go to sick people. Don't allow your elders and children to go out and interact with others. You know, there are many kinds of norms that we have to follow. But what I have seen in my own kind of experience is that many people do not follow these norms. You might have also seen people not following all these norms actually, right? So in this condition, how we have to behave? We don't know whether people coming to the market, for example, will wear face mask, will have would have washed their hands properly, or would maintain social distance. For example, yesterday I wanted to buy some medicine, and I went to the medical shop. There was a person who was paying his cash in front of me, so I was waiting just 2 meters away from him. So there is a social distance maintained, but all of a sudden someone appeared and then entered in between me and the person before me, and then he started paying money without bothering about me standing there actually. So we have these kinds of people behaving in a very uncivilized manner. All of us should follow norms, but there are many people who do not follow these norms. So under that circumstance, how do we behave? Okay. Similarly, I could see a lot of people going in the public with their vehicles. You know, sometimes during lockdown period, I could see traffic jam in roads actually. How come during lockdown period you can see traffic jam? Because of people's behavior. There are people who are not bothered about the COVID-19, right? Their behavior depends on some kind of information like this. For example, COVID-19 will not affect young people. If COVID-19 comes, if you are healthy, then it will not affect you in any way. So all these kinds of kind of information these people get, and then they behave like this. Now the question is, how do you expect the individuals to behave, right? For example, if you follow all the norms, social distancing, washing hands, etc., and you will not get affected. Your payoff is 0. That means that you will be healthy. You will not get affected by COVID-19. There is no harm. And if all other individuals also follow these norms, they will also not get affected. So in a society, there will be no COVID-19. And therefore, after some time, you can go freely, but still maintaining some norms, right? You need not have to worry about COVID-19. But suppose you follow the norms, right? You will not get affected because your payoff is 0. You are safe. You are not getting affected. But the other fellows who do not follow these norms will get affected, and therefore there is -10. There is a welfare loss. Why -10? It is a loss. There is a welfare loss. They will get affected by COVID-19, get admitted in the hospital, get quarantined for many days, and they will not be able to interact with others in the family, others in the society. So there is a loss, welfare loss. So if you follow the norms, you are safe in both the cases, irrespective of whether others follow the norms or don't follow the norms. But if you don't follow the norms, then you will get affected by COVID-19. Whereas if others follow the norms, they will not get affected by COVID. And you are at loss and others are safe actually. But if nobody follows any norms, you are not following norms, others are not also following norms, what you find is all of us will get affected. You are affected, the others are affected, and everybody is affected. Therefore, in a situation where others' behavior is not known, the information about COVID-19 is not known, it is always better to follow the norms and be safer. This is what is called Nash equilibrium. What is Nash equilibrium? I should not the Nash equilibrium says that irrespective of whether others follow the norms or not, I should follow the norms. So if everybody follow the norms, adopt this norm, namely irrespective of others, I should follow the norms, then there will be a Nash equilibrium where nobody will get affected by COVID-19 in the economy. Okay, but now the question is, these are the norms which will have to be practiced by people. Government says that, look, you have to be improving your personal hygiene by way of washing your hands with soap water, and you have to wear face mask, you have to maintain social distancing, so on and so forth. Well and good, but in reality, many people, especially poorer people, they asked one question, namely, yes, we are willing to wash our hands with soap water, but where is the water? We don't have water even for drinking purpose. This is the situation in Rajasthan, for example. Lot of women, they go in search of water. Okay, they don't have adequate water even for drinking purpose. Now, if we expect them to wash hands with the soap to avoid COVID-19, they would rather say that, look, we are better with COVID-19 rather than having no water, because we have to spend a lot of time fetching water, and we have to suffer a lot to bring water. So the government now will have to ensure that in addition to prescribing the norms, the government should also provide good quality water supply to people. This is an important lesson that we have to learn from COVID-19 actually. But when you say that government should provide, it's not only the government that should provide this water supply, but also wherever possible we can make use of the community. We can make use of the private sector. There is a public-private partnership. There is a public-public partnership. So wherever possible, we can combine different institutions, different actors in order to provide good quality water supply. Similarly, in Dharavi right now, a lot of people have been affected by COVID-19. One of the major reasons is that Dharavi is a congested place. It is a huge slum in South Asia, and in slums you have small houses where 5-6 people are put together. So how do you maintain social distance? Suppose somebody goes out, works in a hospital as a health worker who is belonging to high risk group. So when the individual comes back home, he or she will have to distance himself or herself from other people actually. But this is a small hut. They have to live with the others. Therefore, another lesson is that the government should think about providing good quality housing facilities to poorer people actually, right? So this is the kind of lessons that we learn. And then if you look at one more thing, namely the COVID-19 deaths, even though the death rate is very low in India, for example, it's only 3%. 3% of the COVID patients are killed by this disease actually. Remaining 97%, they are likely to get cured, or they are getting cured, part of them actually, right? But in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, the death rate is much lower than that of the Indian average actually. This is because of many reasons. For example, in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, people use alternate medicines like Siddha, Ayurveda, all those kinds of things, and people eat some kind of food that has medicinal value that will improve the immune system. For example, whenever I go to Kerala, I am served with either with Jeera water or with Kadungali water actually. So the water as such has a lot of medicinal values actually, and the food that we eat in Kerala, for example, is very healthy food, and the hygienic practices are also very healthy actually. I think that some of the youngsters may take up this as a research kind of issue. Why in Kerala as well as in Tamil Nadu, for example, the death rate is very low? What are the reasons? Is it because of BCG injection, or is it because of Ayurvedic or alternative medicines, or is it because of the food habit, or is it because of the already existing immune system among the people in Kerala and Tamil Nadu that has prevented a lot of deaths and so on and so forth. Please think about it actually. So now, one of the reasons why people are getting killed by COVID is that, some of these people who are getting killed are experiencing comorbidities. They have hypertension, they have diabetics, they have lung problems, they have kidney problems, so on and so forth. Now the question is, apart from the point is, apart from dealing with COVID-19 in the coming years, we need to improve the health system to cater to those people who are already experiencing all kinds of diseases. Okay, so how are we going to do that? How do we use community? How do we use government? How do we use public, the private sector in providing healthcare facilities to people? Okay, so how do we improve immune system? For example, can we ask people to use alternate medicine, Siddha, Ayurveda, etc. And how do we promote it? Can we think of developing some industry on Ayurvedic and traditional medicines? These are some of the areas that we have to think about in future. Okay. Now, let us come on to the public policy, especially economic policy. Right now, our central government has announced around 20 trillion worth of stimulus package. There are people who argue that this is not 20 lakh worth of package, but it is only 1.8 lakh worth of package. But there is no kind of authentic kind of research that has gone into the question of whether it is 20 lakhs or 1.8 lakh. Nothing of that sort. It is going around in the WhatsApp and social media, etc. So 20 lakh worth of a package has been provided, but there are people who argue that it is only a liquidity-based approach. That means that most part of this 20 lakh crores can be taken as loan by the producer and consumers, and then effective demand will increase, and then they will have to pay this loan back to the banks maybe after the economy is fully revived. Okay, so it is a kind of giving loan and then taking loan back. So that kind of approach has been adopted by central government. That's what many experts argue. But there are clinicians, including Subramaniam Swamy, for example. They are all arguing that right now we have to adopt Keynesian approach. That is, rather than giving the money in terms of loan, we have to give the money in the hands of the people. For example, through NREG's program, direct payment to poor. You have Jan Dhan account. You put a lot of money into this in the hands of especially the poorer people, which will improve their effective demand, and then economy will revive. Okay, so there are two approaches. But one of the reasons why the liquidity-based approach is better is that if you adopt Keynesian approach, pumping a lot of money into the economy now, it will definitely revive the economy in the short run. But in the long run, it may lead to inflation. It may lead to reduced employment, which is basically a Phillips curve kind of analysis. No, when your inflation is very high, unemployment will be low, and inflation is low, unemployment will be high. But later on, Friedman argued that look, if you pump in a lot of money, you will have a kind of natural rate of unemployment where inflation will be high, unemployment will also be high. So government is very careful about it. Government does not want to end up in a situation where want the economy to end up in a situation where there will be huge unemployment and a very high level of inflation, maybe down the line. 3 years or 4 years down the line from now. That is why they adopt this kind of Friedman's kind of approach, where the money is being pumped with a lot of caution. They want to ensure that the money is coming back after some time, like that. Okay, so we can think about it as if there are students working on macroeconomics, if there are students working on monetary economics, we can think about what is the right kind of policy that will have to be adopted, whether it is a Keynesian approach or whether it's a Friedman's approach or whether it is a combination of both. So if it is a combination of both, then where all we can use Keynesian approach, where all we can use monetary approach, I mean Friedman's approach. So we have to think about it, right? So please think about all those things. Another important lesson that we have learned from COVID-19 is that because of no production for the past 3 months, or because of lack of consumption for the past 3 months, because of lack of transportation, we have achieved several important things on the environment front. All our river systems are running very, very, they are all healthy actually. The river systems are healthy. There is no pollution. Why pollution? When production activities take place, industries emit lot of pollution. For example, the Ganges water right now has become potable actually. There are studies which claim that in certain parts of the Ganges, the water is potable. But can you think of this kind of situation just 3 months before, during January 2020 or December 2019? No. See, there was this Ganga Action Plan, Ganga Action Plan 1, Ganga Action Plan 2. Both of them consumed several thousand crores, but the water in the Ganges could not be, the quality of water in the Ganges could not be improved at all. Whereas this virus has cleaned Ganga water, not only Ganga water but also water in almost all river basins, river systems in our country actually. All the rivers are running pure actually, right? Similarly, all our cities, Delhi, Bombay, Kolkata, Hyderabad, all these cities were severely affected by air pollution, before COVID-19. And as a result, for example, in 2017, a report submitted by the Lancet Committee suggested that around 18 lakh people every year were killed by air pollution alone in India. In 2017, 18 lakh people, 1.8 lakh, 1.8 million people were killed by air pollution. So what is the loss? Around 5 to 10% of the GDP was lost because of environmental problems, which was equivalent to 10 to 20 trillion. The entire stimulus package, was wasted because of, the money equivalent to the stimulus package, was indeed lost because of environmental problems actually, okay? So the World Health Organization now suggests that the economy that we are going to revive, will have to take care of the environment properly, because it is the environmental quality which will save several million lives of the people in the coming years actually, right? It is not the COVID-19 which kills people. COVID-19 has killed only 3.5 lakh people across the globe now. But air pollution alone has killed 1.8 million people in 2017. Similarly, if you take into account other diseases, right? For example, cancer, for example, the TB, all kinds of diseases, in one way or other, these diseases are being caused by environmental problems, and therefore, by maintaining the environmental quality in the coming years, we will be able to achieve tremendous improvement in the health sector, tremendous improvement in the welfare of the people. Okay, so that is another lesson that COVID-19 has given us. But now, how are we going to behave in an environmentally friendly manner? Are we going to consume only those products that are environmentally friendly? Are we going to produce only those products which are environmentally friendly? Are we going to reduce our solid waste in the coming years? Are we going to reduce our vehicular movement in the coming years? Are we going to reduce our fossil fuel consumption in the coming years, or are we going to increase the forest cover? Are we going to increase the use of non-conventional energy sources, environmentally friendly energy sources like solar power, etc.? So we have to think about all these kinds of things, and we should follow these kinds of norms very strictly in order to maintain the environmental quality, because it is basically the environmental quality which improves our immune system, which improves our health system, with which one can fight with COVID-19 in a very rigorous manner, actually, right? Similarly, what are the measures that need to be initiated in the agriculture sector? For example, what we have found is that the supply chain has been completely affected because of COVID-19. There was no transportation, there was no labor available for harvesting produces. Even harvested produces were not being properly marketed because there was no demand, and there was no kind of storage facilities available, and so on and so forth. As a result, the agriculture sector has been completely devastated because of COVID-19. Right now, we have to think about improving the agriculture in the coming years, actually. So how are we going to improve? How are we going to stabilize the price? For example, there is no balance between supply and demand for most of the agricultural commodities, and as a result, what happens is that, take for example onion. Sometimes the price of onion goes up to 200 rupees per kg, and then after 4 months it comes down to 10 rupees per kg, and then after 4 months the price again goes to 200 rupees per kg. This is what is called cobweb. Why this cobweb had not been demolished in the agriculture sector, especially for some of the important commodities like tomato, onion, etc.? It's because there is always a kind of imbalance between the demand and supply. For example, sometimes the farmers tend to cultivate more onion, expecting that they will be able to sell it at higher price. But during harvesting season, the market will be flooded with a lot of onions, and then the market price crashes, and as a result, farmers are experiencing loss. So once the farmers experience loss, then most of the farmers will switch over from onion to other crop. Then what will happen after 4 months from now? The onion price will increase because most of the farmers have switched over from onion to other crops, and there is no supply. And what happens? So this is a kind of cyclical kind of this thing, which has become constant in the agriculture market. Now, how do we overcome this? Why not we use demand-based agriculture? It's very simple. For example, let us estimate the demand for each and every commodity, agricultural commodity, in India. So it is not only the demand from domestic consumers, but also from consumers from abroad, actually. Okay, so domestic demand and foreign demand can be estimated based on the past data, actually. Then now, so how do you estimate the supply? Because there is no information about the supply. Now, what you have to do is to ask the farmers 2 questions. Just before 2 months or 3 months, 2 months or 3 months before every cropping season, you ask the farmers 2 questions. What are these questions? What is the crop that you are going to cultivate, and in how much area you are going to cultivate this crop? So farmer will be able to tell answers to these 2 questions. These answers can be elicited by the local village administrative officer, agricultural extension center officials, even some voluntary people appointed by the government, okay, or coordinated by the government, actually. Okay, so you can get these 2 answers very easily from farmers, 3 months or 2 months before every cropping season. Okay, now based on this information, one can estimate the supply of each and every commodity. Okay, so what would be the supply of paddy? What would be the supply of sugar cane or sugar? What would be the supply of onion? Because based on the farmer's information, we estimate this. And then now, based on these estimations, one can find which commodity is going to be in excess supply and which commodity is going to be in short supply. Based on this, you can ask the farmers in the agroclimatic zones by using agricultural extension center officials or volunteers to change the cropping pattern gradually, okay? So if a farmer is cultivating paddy, which is going to be in excess supply, you can ask the farmer to cultivate chili, which is going to be in short supply, okay? Initially, farmer will hesitate, but over a period of time, if they realize that the government's advice is indeed beneficial to the farmers, they will change their cropping pattern over a period of time. Maybe 5 years down the line or 6 years down the line, you can bring balance between supply and demand, and this will help the farmers. This will help the consumers. This will help the all stakeholders involved in agriculture sector. So we have to think about this, demand-based agriculture. Similarly, there is a payment for ecosystem services. Okay, for example, if the farmers cultivate organic produces, because organic producers are environmentally friendly, we need environmentally friendly agriculture in future. Then, if a farmer is found to be cultivating genuine organic products, which is good for the environment, good for agriculture sector, good for consumers, then you provide additional incentives to these farmers. So with these incentives, they will have kind of enthusiasm to cultivate more of organic farming, organic products actually. When other farmers look at these organic farmers, they will also get incentives, because producing organic products provide them additional incentives. Therefore, we can bring most of the farmers towards organic producers by providing more incentives actually. This is what is called payment for ecosystem services. Okay, so if you want the farmers to cultivate tree crops in uncultivated land, you can provide them money, and they will be willing to cultivate tree crops. So like this, you can encourage the farmers and agriculture sector to be more environmentally friendly in the coming years actually, right? Okay, now let me talk about MSME sector. MSME sector is a major sector in India, because that is the sector which is producing lot of employment, lot of income generating activities actually. But during the COVID-19 period, all the MSME sector, that is micro, small and medium enterprises sector, has been completely devastated. Indeed, we used to have around 645 lakh MSME sector in India, but you might have found that a lot of migrant workers are working in this sector, but now it has been completely devastated. But in the coming years, we have to think about one thing, namely self-reliant economy. This is what our Prime Minister suggested. Okay, how are we going to be self-reliant? What is self-reliant? You can consume foreign products, but like Benz car, Audi car, etc. They have to be produced within the country, and they benefit the Indian people, right? So all kinds of activities should benefit Indian people, as long as these benefiting in terms of generating employment, generating income, they are most welcome. This is what our during COVID period, what we have raised is that even the industry, our pharmaceutical industry, which is producing it, we had to depend on other countries like China. So China itself was affected by Corona, and there was no transportation of kind of goods and services from China, and therefore all our pharmaceutical industry dependent on China for inputs. They could not function properly during a health crisis. You cannot expect the pharmaceutical industry to experience problems like this, and this is a classical example which suggests that we should depend on our own. So how do we develop indigenous products? For example, Kerala is doing better in terms of promoting alternate medicines, Siddha, Ayurvedic, etc. But why don't we promote this? Even in Tamil Nadu, for example, Siddha medicines, Ayurvedic medicines are being given to the Corona affected people. There is a drink called Kabasura Kudineer, which will improve your immune system, and as a result, your immune system will fight against COVID-19. If you have already got COVID-19, it will get cured, or if you don't have COVID-19, you will not get COVID-19 because of these traditional medicines. Now, there are industrial activities which can convert these medicines into tablets and capsules, etc. And you can promote these kinds of MSME activities, which will absorb large number of laborers, which can generate income, which can earn foreign exchange, etc., etc. And as a result, what will happen is that now more number of farmers to produce herbs and things like that. So diversification will play agriculture sector also. When promote traditional and agriculture diversification will lead to increased income to the farmers, employment to the laborers, and so on and so forth. So we have to think about these kinds of things. So since there's no time, let me just sorry, I'm sorry, I'm bad. So we have to think about how to strengthen agriculture. And then there are two things about migrant. Many of us, know that migrant laborers suffered a lot. It is really a painful kind of this thing. But please go back to my discussion on information. As far as migrant laborers within India was concerned, there was no information about them. When the central government ferried people from other countries, and students from other countries during this COVID-19 by using flights and all, they did it very well. People criticized that you brought rich people from other countries into India safely, but you are not able to transport the migrant workers within India. They are all very poorer people, and you have not been able to transport these migrant workers back to their native safely, and you have failed all those kinds of things. But the fundamental problem there is, as far as the NRIs and students in foreign countries, the government had clear information, government had authentic information, and therefore they could design measures to bring all these people back. How many people are there in abroad, where they are, where they want to go, how many flights are required, how many isolation wards are required for quarantining them, etc., etc. Everything paka. That's because of information. But as far as the migrant laborers are concerned, there was no information. How many migrant laborers are there? For example, there was one incident. For example, the UP government sent some 200, 300 to Kota in Rajasthan to bring the students back to UP. Once these buses reach Kota, 2,000 people turned up, but 8,000 people turned up. So there's no information about how many laborers are there, and therefore in future we have to have full information of the migrant laborers. How many of them are employed in each state? Where did they come from? And whether adequate job opportunities are available to them, adequate housing facilities are available, water supply available, education facilities for the children are available. So we provide all these welfare measures to the migrant laborers, provided that we generate information about the migrant laborers for proper information. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing is, why migration takes place? Because the job is not available near their hometown actually. So we have to think about decentralized MSME activities so that the laborers can get work in their own natives. Similarly, we have to think about decentralized urbanization. In Tamil Nadu, decentralized urbanization has taken place, and therefore we have not experienced much migrant laborers problems actually, but whereas in North India, migrant laborers problem was because of highly centralized urbanization taking place in different states, and therefore we have to think about decentralized urbanization in order to deal with that thing. And the last but not the least one is that the COVID-19 has proved that it is basically the humanitarian approach which will help all of us. You know, when many people were affected by COVID-19 because of job loss, income loss, etc., etc., many people came forward to help them. You know, they distributed food grains, they distributed money, they distributed food. What a wonder! For example, Adam Smith in his book called The Theory of Moral Sentiments, which was published in the year 1758, suggested that human beings will have to use sympathy, other regarding behavior to help others. Okay, but many economists picked up The Wealth of Nations, which was published in 1776, where Adam Smith promoted a selfish interest. But Adam Smith was concerned about selfish interest with a lot of sympathy. Sorry, and other behavior. You have to earn money, no doubt about it, but you have to share this money with others. Okay, so very recently we celebrated Ramzan, where we see lot of people, rich people, contributing to poor people and things like. So this is what wanted actually. This has been insisted upon by Adam Smith also. So in the coming years, you'd be helping others in whatever the way we could do, like how we have helped during this COVID-19 period. So the same kind of humanitarian approach. You can be selfish, you can earn a lot of income, but please share some percentage of income with other people, poorer people, help others. So this is what economics says. This is what COVID-19 has taught us, and by doing that, we will be able to eradicate poverty. We will be able to minimize inequality. We will be able to remove all the surface of other people, our own brothers and sisters. Okay, so let me just thank you all, and I will stop here. So I will take questions if there are questions. I hope that there may be several questions. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for your engaging lecture. Now the participants can raise your questions regarding this particular topic in the chat box. Or you can unmute your mic and ask these questions.
There is one question from Gis Dijo.
Questions, please.
It is Gis Dijo. In the chat box, there is a question. And the question is, sir, if we are thinking about increasing supply.
Oh, they ask many.
Yeah, in the chat box, there is a question. If we are thinking about increasing supply, there should be sufficient demand to package. Whether there should be sufficient demand to package. That is, whether there is any demand supply deficiency will be there.
Okay. Is it just asking?
Yeah.
So someone has asked a question like, if you are thinking about increasing supply, there should be sufficient demand to buy. So the point is, first estimate the demand and then focus on the supply. Okay, ask the farmers to change their cropping plan according to the demand actually, right? And you will be able to avoid excess supply or deficit supply actually. So then another question: how can we increase demand in this scenario of? The point is that this is a normal situation, but I'm talking about normal situation. Going to have normal feature, and therefore the demand will also be normal, right? But right now we have to take initiatives to increase the effective demand by way of using Keynesian approach, as well as taking caution from Friedman that we should not end up with a lot of inflation and unemployment in future actually, right? Demand can be improved. Effective demand can be improved. Demand can be increased, but we have to be very careful in doing that actually. So how to do decentralized MSME? The point is we have to identify the resources available. Okay, there should be resource mapping. Okay, what the resources available: labor, natural resources, technology, and capital, etc., etc. Okay, based on that, one can think about decentralizing the MSME, right? So that can be done actually, right? So only thing is we have to do resource mapping, and then depending on resource mapping, you can ask MSMEs to take up activities in those areas suitable for setting MSMEs, right? Okay. For example, let me give you one small example. In Tamil Nadu, we have a lot of palmyra trees. They are not being properly utilized. Indeed, palmyra products, they are very good for health. They can improve the immune system. They can fight against many diseases and so on and so forth. There are large number of palmyra products which can be developed by MSME sector. But these palmyra trees are found in the southern part of Tamil Nadu. So MSME sectors can be asked to focus on palmyra-based product, and therefore they can be established in southern region. For example, in western Tamil Nadu, lot of cut flowers, horticultural crops are being cultivated. So MSMEs focusing on horticultural crops can be deployed in the western part of Tamil Nadu actually. So you have to do resource mapping and then plan your MSME activities. Okay. Here we are having webinars, and from June 1, Kerala government is going to start online classes. Yeah, that's true. Yes, that's good. How to do decentralized? Yeah. Sir, is it possible to bring back the market in normal way safely? And Jomi Prasant, I would indeed think about it. That's what I said. I mean, let us hope for good things. But how to bring market in a normal way with all the safety measures? So we have to think about it. Can you do this as an experimentation? You go to a nearby market and interact with the people in the market, consumers, sellers, as well as producers, and find out in what possible ways we can restructure this market that is conducive for the consumers, producers, intermediaries. How can we do that? So we have to do a small research actually, right? Shinu Varki has asked one question, namely, Shino, I'm sorry. The new normal in the Indian economy is the increasing marginalization of the working population, especially the migrant laborers, reflected in the informalization of public and private sector, removal or dilution of existing labor laws in many states, which I believe is really exploitative and actually counterproductive, even the deep recession. Yeah, that's true, but your ideas are well taken. But if you feel like that, then what can be the alternative policy that can be promoted that can provide a lot of kind of facilities to the migrant laborers? If you feel that right now the policies are exploitative, then what do you think would be the right policy? Can you just write about a piece on that? So we have to communicate this information about alternative policy to the general public, to the government actually. So this is a kind of democratic way in which you can express your ideas, right? So I would appreciate that. So you come out with your own policy. How do we minimize exploitation of the laborers in the coming years? What is your own idea? That's very important. The resources are available, but state is not in. See, the point is, please keep something in mind. I don't belong to any party, or I don't support any party here. Well, I'm a honest academician, researcher, teacher. So I want to be neutral. The point here is, most of the time we blame the government. So if some government has come out with some stimulative package, we should appreciate it. At the same time, there may be many problems with that. So we have to identify problems and tell the government that, look, this is the problem with the stimulus package, and you can rectify this problem by way of this. Right? Why are we not doing? Most of the time, we are blaming the government. Let's stop blaming the government. Let us take government seriously, because if you are a chief minister or a prime minister, will you be able to come out with the perfect policy? Will you be able to with the policies that would satisfy everybody? Definitely not. You cannot satisfy even your household member. For example, every day, we cook food, but different. We are three. Even three of us do not prefer to have the food that we cooked. Actually, we always say, oh, we could have cooked this, we could have cooked that, etc., etc. But there are people for whom the food itself is a problem. Now we are talking about different types of food because we get some income, etc. But there are people right now who do not have even food actually. So there are different types of people, different preferences, different level of income, etc. You cannot satisfy all of them. But that is why I say that let us take the policies objectively, because there are a whole lot of difficulties in formulating policies actually, right? You cannot satisfy everybody. So, so we have to help the government by way of providing information, providing better solutions actually, right? What we need is income support. Too many credit guarantees. Will they help? Or yeah, that's true. So what you were suggesting, Rohit Vajpayee, what you were suggesting is the Keynesian measure. But you have to prove that, look, at this juncture, Keynesian measure is better. It will not lead to inflation. It will not lead to unemployment in future. But suppose if it leads to inflation, so in what way we can rectify this problem? Namely, in what way we can ensure that Keynesian approach is not to inflation maybe 3 years or 4 years down the line. So we have to think about it. We have to generate information on that. Okay, so I would appreciate that. Informative speech. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I think in Kerala the problem of Gulf return laborers needs special attention. Yes, but in what way? What attention? So what are the components of this special attention? Can you write about it? Send it to Kerala government. So I would really appreciate it. The government will also appreciate it, because right now government needs a lot of good quality ideas. They are willing to implement these ideas actually, right? The most disturbing news is that 3 components of demand have fallen. Consumption demand have slowed down, investment demand. Yes, you are a macroeconomist, Miss Princey. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate your idea actually. Is it because of the combination of Keynesian and monetarist policies? Which policy? That's what I said. In certain cases, Keynesian policy works. For example, right now, a lot of households do not have job, do not have income, and therefore they should be given money in their hands actually, right? But there may be some other sector where you need a lot of loan actually, okay? A monetarist approach, okay? Liquidity based approach. So we have to identify, we have to do small research and find out where all Keynesian policies are relevant, where all Friedman's policies are relevant, and where all the combination of 2 policies are relevant. But sometimes you may find some other policy, apart from Keynesian or Friedman's policy, you may find some other policy to be relevant. For example, there are people who suggest that right now, rather than giving money, we have to give goods, basically food grains, more food grains to the people, because there are people who are suffering from hunger actually, right? So these people need more grains actually. In the public government godowns, you have around 6.4 million tons of food grains available, wheat, rice, dal, and other things. So right now, the government has released only 70 lakh tons, very meager percentage. So more food grains will have to be given. So we have to identify these kinds of things and communicate these things to the government actually, right? They should be put to the specialized work at their home. Yeah, yes, that's okay. How COVID-19 changed the world order? Your opinion? We don't know. We don't know how it is going to change the world order. We can't predict everything, but we have to work with limited information, and we expect everything to be positive, and every one of us will have to work towards making the economy better, making the human lives better, we have to consume environmentally friendly. We have to contribute a lot to others also, and that is how we can make the economies better in the coming years. Okay. In what all ways do you think we can nudge people to wear a mask or maintain social distance? Oh, this is a very interesting question, behavioral economics question. Can we think about, for example, a lot of people initially, when the lockdown was imposed initially, when people go out, the police was beating them like anything. But this affected not only the people, those who have violated the norms, but also genuine people. For example, if people go for purchasing essential items, purchasing medicines, etc., they were also beaten up. Then the police have taken a decision now to beat these people, and they adopted moral suasion. Actually, they initially adopted punishment and then switched over from punishment to moral suasion. They even they bowed down to all these violators. Police bowed down. They requested the people not to come out and all those kinds of things. And then they started putting fine. They used economic instruments like putting fine, etc. That also did not work. So the point is, there are several measures: punishment, moral suasion, and then you have economic instruments like fines, charges, taxes, etc., which try to nudge the people on the street. Actually, okay. Similarly, you can have several kind of measures to nudge people to follow these norms, wearing face masks, social distancing, etc. And it all differs among different people. In Kerala, say for example, moral suasion may work, but it may not work in, say, Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so depending on the local circumstances, local behavior, culture, etc., we have to find out appropriate nudging. Okay, so in our own area, what is the suitable nudging? You have to do a research on that. Okay, that's a good question. There are many questions in which what way. Okay. I agree about the Nash equilibrium of people following the norms, but as per World Health Organization, the COVID-19 would continue until all are immune to it. So, which means all would get COVID at one or other point in time. So, is it not better to get over the fear of COVID? See, the point is that's a good question, Mr. RK, or it is Mr. or Miss RK, I don't know. That's a good question. Some of the people argue that, look, we have to adopt a Swedish type approach where people are allowed to get COVID-19 so that the herd immunity will improve among the people. But sometimes what will happen is that India is a very thickly populated country. So if large number of people, COVID affected people, need hospitalization, do we have hospital beds? If large number of people need intensive care unit, do we have ICUs? If large number of people need ventilators, do we have adequate ventilators? We don't have, and that is why we have to adopt a very careful approach. Actually, lockdown is essential, but at the same time, we have to ensure that people are getting herd immunity very gradually. We should not end up with a situation where our hospitals are flooded with COVID-19 patients, right? So we don't want that. We have to adopt a very cautious approach. Now it should be made compulsory for the government to know complete information about migratory levels. Yeah, that's a good suggestion actually. Sir, is there a chance where both the Keynesian and Friedman model? That's what I said. We have to take case by case and then see whether Keynesian model is suitable, Friedman's model is monetarist model is suitable, or both of them are suitable. Both of them are not suitable. So do we have to find out our own kind of policy for our own people, irrespective of various kinds of Keynesian or Friedman's kind of policy? So we have to study this. I don't have ready-made answer. So right now information is not readily available. As a honest economist, I need information. That is why I want all of you attending this webinar to think about developing some authentic information. Okay.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay,
sir.
so if there
Thank you
are
very
no
much.
questions, Sri Lakshmi has asked one question. You talked about the cobweb model. Farmers are destroying their own products due to lack of legitimate prices for their produce. Rather than estimating supply, why can't the governments find proper markets? See, that is why there are markets, but still all the markets are overflowing with surplus products because farmers are not getting adequate information about what to produce, how much to produce, all those kinds of things. Okay, right now what happens when somebody cultivates onion, I should also cultivate onion. When somebody cultivates carrots, I should also cultivate carrots. So there is a demonstration effect actually. So this demonstration effect should not be practiced anymore. Because of this demonstration effect, the markets are flooded. You can create more markets, but all the markets will get flooded. What is wanted is there should be balance between demand and supply, and this balance should be based on proper information. So information on demand and supply, information should be communicated to the farmers so that they can cultivate optimally. Okay, each crop. That is how we can overcome this COVID-19 actually, right?
Sir, whether we can wind up
So
our
anyway, if there are no other questions, then I would like to stop here, and you can communicate your comments through email. So my email is this venkatamids@gmail.com, and your inputs are most welcome. So I would like the organizers to tell me whether I can stop here.
Yes, sir. We can stop here.
Okay, okay.
Sir, just
Thank
a
you.
minute. For Sir, we are at the end of a fruitful session led by Professor L. Venkatachalam. We place on record our sincere thanks to you for accepting our invitation and making an excellent talk on new normal economy under the post-COVID-19 era. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
We also extend our sincere thanks to all the participants. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, organizers. Thank you for this invitation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
For the kind attention of the participants, please fill the feedback form that is provided in the chat box. From that information, we are making the e-certificates. Thank you everyone for signing up for our webinar and also participating in a very productive manner. So thanking you everyone for such a wonderful, engaging session.
So thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.